So here's a big question that I get asked all the time. Does thyroid dysfunction cause gut issues, or does poor gut health cause thyroid problems? Well, the answer is both. And today I'm going to be joined by gut health specialist Hannah Aylward to tackle these big questions. And she is going to share her personal journey, and we're going to dive into practical ways to support better digestion and thyroid balance, from nutrition, probiotics, to travel tips. So if you've ever struggled with bloating, fatigue, or stubborn thyroid problems, this episode is for you. You're listening to the Beyond the Thyroid podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Dana Gibbs. I'm an ENT surgeon and hormone specialist. For years, I struggled with my own unrecognized thyroid problems before and even after I was regularly performing thyroid surgeries. Then, one day, I learned something that turned my health around and opened my eyes to the limits of mainstream medicine in treating more subtle thyroid abnormalities. I spent the next 20 years fine-tuning my hormone expertise in disorders like Hashimoto's disease, perimenopause, and stress-related illness. Come join me as I share this new approach to hormones that empowers you to take control of your own thyroid and hormone imbalances. Let's dive in. All right, welcome everybody back to Beyond Thyroid. Welcome friends, and if you're new here, happy to have you. Today I have a wonderful special guest. This is Hannah Aylward, who is a nutrition GI problem specialist. I'm going to let her tell me how she describes herself, but anyway, welcome Hannah. It's great to have you.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to dive in.
Tell me, first of all, how do you describe what you do?
So we really help women overcome chronic digestive issues by taking a root cause approach to repairing the gut function, digestive capacity, all of that good stuff. So we see a lot of women that are dealing with chronic bloating, looking kind of like 6 months pregnant with belly bloat at the end of the day. Maybe they have constipation or diarrhea, or maybe they're alternating between the two. Sometimes they've been told they have IBS by their doctor. Sometimes they may know that they have a condition like SIBO or like bacterial overgrowth, but not always. Sometimes it'll appear with like reflux or just a lot of sensitivity, lots of food sensitivities and reactions and food intolerances. So feeling like they're having to kind of peel away a lot of these foods, they can't quite tolerate many things due to chronic digestive issues. And that usually also comes with low energy. Maybe we've got some skin stuff too, like acne or rashes. Maybe we've got some sluggish thyroid function too, or painful periods, right? Because as you know, these systems in the body all influence one another. So it's typically not just digestion. We'll get like a nice other long list of painful symptoms with that too.
Laundry list of common symptoms that all go together. Thyroid is exactly the same. So how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah. So I think like many in this field, I struggled with my own chronic digestive issues for a long time. I ate very healthy. I ate very clean. I was young when I was really struggling. I was active. Like I've always been an athlete. I've always exercised and moved a lot. And I was, eating gluten-free and eating dairy-free, and I barely drank alcohol, and I was minimizing sugar, and I was still dealing with this like really chronic bloating. And I was kind of being told like, you're just stressed. Maybe it's just like in your head, you're too worried about this. But I would look 6 months pregnant after eating an apple. And I was quote unquote doing all of the right things and still really struggling. And I just knew that there had to be something else going on, because I was like, A, I didn't always feel this way. And B, I am like, I'm doing all the right things. I'm eating super healthy. I'm eating really clean. I'm exercising. And so something else has got to be kind of going on. So that's when I really dove into the gut microbiome research and kind of like digestive function and realized, oh, it's not really a food problem. It's more so a gut issue, a gut microbiome, or what I call kind of like the gut environment. Because when we have imbalances there, we'll have lots of fun digestive issues. So yeah, I really got into it because I was struggling with my own stuff and no one could really help me or give me any answers. And I was health coaching women and I was realizing that we all had the same story. It was like, I go into the doctor and I tell them that I'm really struggling and I have this bloating and all of that. And they're like, oh, you're just stressed. Like, just relax. And that should help everything.
Yeah, it's easy to do, right?
Yep. So I just started hearing the same thing over and over, women being dismissed and being told it's in their head and being told they're just stressed. And I was like, okay, someone's got to do something about this. So here I am now.
Yeah. So did you go to college and get a degree?
I studied something
nutrition?
very different in college, and then I went and became a certified holistic health coach with the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, and I did a lot of kind of like self-study. And then on my team today I have four women with masters in nutrition or clinical nutrition and all of that. So we kind of bring skills from many different backgrounds kind of to the table.
So the conditions that you see, you kind of already went over that. So talk to me about, I know last time we spoke, we were talking about the overlap of what you do with hypothyroidism. And, it seems like that list of diagnoses, the eczema and all that stuff, it's so similar. It's just like, oh my gosh, how do you tell that apart? So where do you start with somebody who comes in with problems like what you're describing?
Yeah. Kind of depends on what they've tried in the past and where their baseline is. So we can do a lot of like first line of defense should, in my opinion, be nutrition shifts and nutrition intervention. A lot of our clients are a bit more advanced, so they've already done a lot of that. Like the average client that we see is not, eating McDonald's and fried food all the time. They're right. Maybe they've done paleo, maybe they've done Whole30, they're gluten-free, they're dairy-free, they're eating organic, and they're still really struggling. So if that's you, then I would say the line of intervention is a little more elevated versus your kind of like, for lack of better phrasing, average person who's eating still a lot of processed foods, maybe fried foods high in sugar, or that standard American diet. So if you're there, let's adjust the nutrition and see what we can do there, like emphasizing more whole foods, nutrient dense foods, and I can go into detail there if you'd like. And then if you're already doing that, then we'll take it a step further. And with all of our clients, we always run functional stool testing, so we can find a lot of information out about their gut microbiome, whether that's infections or microbial imbalances, digestive capacity, inflammation levels in the large intestine through these labs. And the functional stool testing really changed my life. And that's why I really wanted to bring it in and use it with our clients, because we'll learn a lot about them there. So that's kind of going to be one of the first things that we'll do to then be able to understand you have, maybe you have a parasitic infection, or maybe you have overgrowth of fungi in the gut microbiome, or maybe you don't have enough of your good gut bacteria. We can work to repopulate those, or you have fat maldigestion. All of these things can influence how you digest your food, and then like levels of bloating and constipation, diarrhea, etc. So we kind of go digging for these, like, where's the kink in the hose? Like, where's the little part of the chain that's busted, so we can fix that, and then your body can start to work how it knows how to best.
Sure. Awesome. So you mentioned a couple of times doing everything right. So in your world, what is doing everything right?
Yeah, I was eating a primarily whole foods based diet. I was eating gluten-free. I don't think I touched gluten or dairy for a decade. That's not an exaggeration.
Oh my goodness.
I basically lived on an elimination diet. So anything that I read could quote unquote be inflammatory, I took out. And it did help me a little bit. It helped me get like probably 20% better, but I was still dealing with this bloating that would just like not budge. But I was eating super clean, like single ingredient foods, which is still a great thing to do, right? There was just more to my story. I was exercising a few times a week. Honestly, I was over exercising at the time, thinking I was doing it right, but I was really like burning myself into the ground.
Yeah, I see that all the time.
Oh yeah.
I see that all
I was
the time.
taking like probably 4 HIIT classes a week without understanding that was way too much for me. I didn't really drink alcohol. I've been living a life that was like had fewer toxins for a long time. I mean, I don't burn scented candles. I'm not using tons of products that have lots of like endocrine disruptors in them. And I've been that way for a long time. So that's what I mean when I say I was kind of like doing all of these right things, drinking filtered water. You know, I was really doing it all.
Right.
I wasn't, you know, eating McDonald's and staying out late drinking drinks and
Soda pop and things.
no, not at all. So yeah.
No, definitely not. Yeah. So how many people, when they come in, do you see that actually have deficiencies in their nutrition that are contributing to their troubles?
So many. I mean, arguably everyone. So I think we've had, I actually spoke to my team about this recently. I'm like, have we ever seen a woman come in actually eating enough? And I believe it was Eli on my team. She's a registered dietitian. She was like, I think it was one person because she was a bodybuilder or something. So she was like really on top of her macros.
So she was over macro weight.
Yeah. So she was like,
but not
yes,
very many.
Not very many at all.
Okay.
Most women lean under eating, whether that's purely just not enough calories for their needs, and or usually we're seeing women, you know, we like women to be eating around, and of course we can get a lot more specific when we know your case and all of that, but on average, like 100 grams of protein a day. Most women come in eating like 50 grams of protein per day. So
Whoa.
yeah.
Half
as much. Under eating protein,
Okay.
carbs.
Yeah.
I mean, we had one client come in, and she always comes to mind because her functional medicine doctor had told her to don't eat carbs. She was eating 45 grams of carbs a day. And I'm like,
That's pretty low.
You probably need about 150, 160 grams of carbs a day.
Yeah.
So we can see like it could be not enough calories, could be low protein, could be low carb. Typically it's just, not fueling for your body's needs, which of course will impact thyroid function too.
Oh, absolutely. That's one of the biggest things I see that I think triggers people to go into thyroid dysfunction is calorie restriction, and then, you know, not that I'm Miss Nutrition expert, but, you know, specific nutrition's not enough, you know, minerals, not enough, whatever.
Yeah.
So what other ones do you see besides just the macros?
Yeah. Anytime we add in a lot of restriction with the diet. So what tends to happen is with gut issues specifically, like women will start reacting to foods. So then they'll start taking them out, right? They're like, oh, I think it's the gluten, or it's the dairy, or it's the fruit, or it's the this or that. And as soon as we start to remove all of these different food groups from the diet, we're just like setting the breeding ground for deficiency, because how are we going to get in all these nutrients? And you know, when it comes to, as you know, we need certain nutrients for thyroid function. You know, we need certain nutrients for thyroid hormone conversion. We need certain nutrients to support a healthy gut lining. We need certain nutrients and minerals like sodium and chloride and zinc and B vitamins to produce stomach acid. So there's, you know, like once we start to peel away loads and loads of foods, whether that's just like decreasing calories and or what typically happens is eliminating these food groups, we can run into trouble, you know, pretty quickly. Like, for example, vitamin A is so important for thyroid function and gut function. And a lot of the time we get that bioavailable vitamin A in the form of retinol from dairy. But so many women will read,
and people don't realize that because they're dairy free.
They'll read online that dairy is inflammatory or whatever, and then they cut it out, and then it's like, where are we getting in this vitamin A? And yes, we can get it in through things like carrots and sweet potatoes, but that's not in the form of retinol. That's beta carotene, so which we can convert to use as retinol, the more bioavailable form, but not everyone can at the same capacity. So it's just really like a slippery slope. Once we get into taking out loads and loads of foods, it can lead to so much deficiency in kind of different arenas. And what I also like to emphasize is liver detoxification is a nutrient dependent process. If the body doesn't have what it needs, the liver can't do its job efficiently. And the liver, you know, is where we convert most thyroid hormone from inactive to active. It's also where we produce bile that will help us break down fats and absorb fat soluble nutrients. It plays so many key roles in gut function. So all systems will start to kind of, you know, not break down because your body's still operating, but they'll be working kind of subpar once we start to, you know, take out a lot of these foods.
So that brings up a specific question that I wanted to ask you, which is I see a lot of patients who have already had their gallbladder taken out because somebody told them that was going to fix their gut problems. And so then they don't store bile so that they can release it during a meal. They dribble it out all day long. So is there something special that you tell people to do who have had their gallbladder out?
Absolutely. Yeah. You're going to need bile support forever going forward for exactly that reason. So the liver is what produces it. The gallbladder stores it and pushes it out at meal times. Without that gallbladder, just as you mentioned, we're going to have kind of this like slow drip. But so you won't quite have enough when you need it, when you're eating those meals that do contain fat or that are higher fat. So something like an ox bile can be really helpful long term. So like
I like that stuff.
A combination with like an ox bile and a lipase, or a full spectrum enzyme that has, not just lipase, that's the enzyme to break down fat, but you can find some of these combinations on the market, like through good brands. One comes to mind. We like Digestion GB. I believe it's pure encapsulations. It has kind of a combination of a few of these things, but overall, you will need this bile support going forward. The other thing that I like people to think about is, there's a reason why we needed to have your gallbladder removed, and that didn't happen overnight. Chances are that didn't happen overnight. It was very likely, kind of brewing for a period of time that was then creating the sludge and the stones, and whatever reason we needed that kind of prompted that removal. So the liver is going to need some support because you don't just remove the organ and then everything gets better. The liver was probably struggling for a good bit of time before the gallbladder had to be removed. So bringing in some of these nutrients to support liver function, detoxification can be really, really helpful too after you get that gallbladder removal. And then, if you really want to dive deep, like say you're someone who got that removal and you're still having all these gut issues, and you take the ox bile and you're like, it helped a little, but it didn't quite help fully. The thing that is really important to understand is, like, your body's incredible. It's doing all of this without you even thinking about it. It's amazing. And one of the other jobs that bile has is it acts as an antimicrobial. So it's pushed into that small intestine at mealtime to help to break down and emulsify these fats. But it also helps to kind of keep that small intestine more sterile. It's not entirely sterile, but it should have a lot less bacteria than the large intestine. That's where like the large portion of our gut microbes are. So without adequate bile, we can get SIBO, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth.
Right.
But,
right. Had never thought about it that way.
Gosh.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So it's like if someone has had that removal, and then that will influence thyroid function. Thyroid function can influence SIBO, right? So it's like these systems are all impacting one another, but we'll see people with removals have dysbiosis, whether that's in the small intestine or the large intestine, that can then be really contributing to the bowel movement, like irregular bowel movements and bloating and things like that.
What about hydrochloric acid? Do you see a lot of people who are deficient in hydrochloric acid, stomach acid, basically?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a bit hard to test, are you producing enough or not? So we kind of look at just like what you're presenting with. We don't want to go adding in more acid to anyone that has like gastritis or tons of reflux or anything like that, because we want to, check out the upper GI tissue first, make sure there's no damage and all of that. But a lot of people tend to run lower stomach acid due to chronic stress and nutrient deficiencies.
Same thing again.
Thyroid, right? All of that plays a role. And then sometimes we can see infections too, like a Helicobacter pylori infection that will essentially how can I phrase this? You'll just produce less stomach acid because it damages the parietal cells that produce stomach acid. Yeah. So absolutely, we're working on stomach acid with people, with essentially everyone. We can do that with something like a hydrochloric acid supplement, but that's usually not our first go-to. I like to use something a bit more gentle, like a digestive bitters, or honestly making sure that you're really chewing your food, that you're smelling your food, you're tasting your food, you're present with your food.
You mean not inhaling your food? Wait.
I'm saying not, shoving something into your mouth while answering emails and not taking your lunch break.
Well, it's funny that you met, because traditional medicine's answer to H. pylori is to give you Prilosec, which, what does it do? It stops you from making stomach acid. It's just like, okay, doesn't sound like that's really the right answer.
No. And if you think about it like this, and I learned this from a functional registered dietitian a few years ago. She was kind of like, if reflux was due to having too much stomach acid, then we would see children on PPIs. What we see is as we age.
Oh, I see that all the time.
You do? You see children?
I see them. Well, I don't treat them, but I have seen that. In my
I just
practice.
saw this other like 11-year-old boy on I think Prilosec, and I was like, no, someone give him my phone number.
So hard to get people off that darn stuff once they're on.
Yes,
it
is. Yeah.
It's like you have to wean off gradually. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
And like I identify why they needed it in the first place, because a child usually shouldn't need that, but tons of kids get H. pylori infections as well. But we know as you age and you get older, you start to naturally produce less stomach acid. So we tend to see younger people not on PPIs and older people on more PPIs. So if you think about it, if acid reflux was due to too much stomach acid, then we would see that flipped, right? We'd see older people not on them if they're producing less acid, and we'd see a lot of younger people on them, just kind of like thinking through that.
Yeah. I agree with you. I don't know that reflux is from too much stomach acid. I really feel it's duodenal secretions that are getting back wrong.
Yeah.
Right. Because of paresis, because of low thyroid, or because of whatever else is going on.
Agree.
I see that all the time. Because I really do feel like in the U.S. we have this epidemic of chronic disease, and so much of it is related to food. Tell me first steps that everybody ought to do to clean up what they're eating.
Yes. Wow. This could be a long one.
No, that's okay. We got time.
This could be a long one. There's so much that goes into this conversation, right? Including budget, accessibility to things, what you have in your environment, what you grew up eating, all of this. It's a much bigger like kind of socioeconomic like conversation. With that being said, if you're just getting started, we want to focus on single ingredient foods. So we're looking for food that doesn't contain tons of different ingredients. It is an ingredient. So something like an apple doesn't have an ingredient label on it. It's just an apple. Something like, a steak even. It doesn't come with this long list of ingredients. It's just beef, right? So focusing more, if you can add more of those kinds of foods into your diet, and then you can add things to them, right? You can add salt and pepper, you can add olive oil, you can add sauce or whatever, but as long as we're sticking to mostly those like actual foods, not simple, things that don't have long lists of ingredients, then you're going to be better off simply starting there. Of course, most of us know decrease alcohol, decrease sugar, decrease fried foods. We kind of understand that. And then if we want to take it to that next step, what I think is one of the like most powerful things that you can do when it comes to nutrition and the food that you're eating is just learning how to balance your blood sugar through the food that you're eating. That is, it's like nutrition 101. Anyone that studied nutrition should know how to teach you that and be talking to you about it, because it impacts so much in the body, and it's quite simple when you understand how to do it. So if you want me to break that down, I'm happy to, but I think that's a really good place to start.
Yeah. So do you advise people to try glucose monitors like the CGMs at this point?
Kind of depends. We've had a couple clients get them, and sometimes they're just kind of curious too. If there's an issue, and if we're seeing like their hemoglobin A1C is elevated and they're eating like a super healthy kind of diet and they're balancing their blood sugar, or they're thinking they're then I think a CGM is helpful. We've never really seen a CGM give us information that we didn't really already know, like with the foundations of balancing blood sugar. I think if you lean towards over controlling and like having a lot of stress around food, it would not be my recommendation.
Yeah, you can get stressed out more because
because also like a healthy body should be able to tolerate like some spikes, right? It's not that you never want to eat a piece of bread or something like that. It's more so, you know, a healthy body knows what to do with that and can kind of re-regulate. So seeing that surge in the blood glucose can like trigger some fear that's unnecessary, I think. But if someone just wants to learn more, and it's also going to really help prompt them to change, make change, healthy change, then it can be useful. But I think it's never quite shown us something we didn't already know, that like, you know, starchy carbs or processed carbohydrates are going to raise your blood sugar. Like we knew that, you know.
Sure. Yeah. And I've seen it be more valuable as real-time feedback to the patient. It's just like, you know what? I know you think you're getting away with something by doing X, Y, Z, but here's what's actually happening, and here, wear this for 2 weeks and just see. So that's really helpful.
I think the 2-week intervention can be really insightful. I wouldn't, you know, I don't think people need to wear them all the time, of course, unless you have like a more serious condition.
No, I don't either. Yeah. Okay. Couple of coaching questions. So I get people in who say, oh, well, I'm just addicted to sugar. Okay, so how do you help who says, I can't stop eating sugar?
Yeah, well, if you have already made up your mind there, then you're not gonna. So if you're gonna run with the story that you can't give it up, then you can't give it up and you won't give it up. So, you know, you have to be open to change. I can feel into that.
But it is just a story. It is
a
story.
Of course. You know, most things that we tell ourselves are. And we see people like decrease their sugar cravings left and right all the time. So it's absolutely possible. I actually used to be someone who needed something sweet after like I ate every meal. And I was just thinking literally last night, like, wow, I don't really feel that way anymore, which is so funny.
No, it's nice.
And I think it's because once you stabilize those blood sugar levels, I mean, the cravings decrease and the food noise decreases so much in a way that you honestly never thought was possible. Like you can kind of move from one meal to the next with ease. I used to eat a meal and I'd be dreaming about my next meal already. And I was also kind of using food to soothe and like give me joy where I was like lacking it in other areas of my life. So this conversation can kind of really go in many directions. There's the more physiological, like it's stemming from a physiological imbalance, like blood sugar dysregulation. That's kind of one area. Then it could be someone who is using sweets to feel cozy and safe and soothed because their life is super stressful. And that is a normal response to that. So it's like, how can we take a look at our lives and see like, where can we source joy, not solely from food? Not that it's not okay to like love a nice meal and going out to dinner with friends and all of that, but it's more so, you know, for me, I was really using food to like fill this void that I had in my life in other areas and kind of like bring me joy, like in short term, right? Because it only lasts a little bit because I wasn't quite living my life in a way that I liked. So there's so much that can be said here, but I would say first you have to be willing to give up that story and then learn how to balance your blood sugar levels and then be patient with yourself and know that it won't happen overnight. Of course not. And you'll have a day where you're like, oops, I ate 5 cookies. And the key there is to not beat yourself up for it. And I like to always say it's really not about like never falling off the horse. It's just about how quickly you can get back on, because everyone's going to fall off the horse. Everyone's going to everyone's going to make a mistake. Everyone's going to stay up too late. Everyone's going to have one too many drinks or one too many cookies or whatever it is. Like, we're all just human. So it's really not about aiming for perfection and never doing those things. And then when you do, shaming yourself, it's more so being like, oh, wow, I took that one a little too far. And now I'm just how can I take care of myself today? And that's it. And leave the shame behind.
Yeah. So how long do you generally see before the cravings calm down initially? If somebody says, okay, I'm going to go without sweeteners, 10 days, a month?
I would say a good few weeks. I mean, if they're cutting out all sweeteners, like even like stevia and all of that, probably within about 10 days. If you're adding in some of those sweeteners still, which I think are fine in small doses, honestly, or like a little bit of honey. Like to me and our clients, I'm like, that's fine. A tablespoon of honey is going to be fine, you know, but your brain's still kind of like getting that signal of sweetness. It could take a little bit longer, but I'd say if you can commit to a good 3 weeks or so and taking out a lot of this processed sugar, you'll feel the difference, and you'll notice that you don't crave it as much. But we have to make sure that you're eating enough protein and good healthy fats and fibers kind of as you're swapping that out, and you'll realize that food noise goes away, which a lot of people are talking about with like these GLP-1s. And we don't really have to open it up to that conversation if we don't want to, but people are saying the GLP-1s are really helping with the food noise, right? They're kind of quieting that food noise, and we can work with our body's own secretions of GLP-1, of course, in much, much smaller doses than a medication, but through eating things like protein and fiber, it's giving us that feeling of satiety and fullness and kind of quieting that food noise. So yeah, I think when you have the right strategy, you can move through it with a lot more ease.
Okay. So next coaching question is, how do you deal with the patient who is very, very invested in their 1,500 calorie diet and their 7 workouts a week lifestyle, but doesn't, it's just like they want to feel better, but they think they're doing the right thing and they don't want to give that up. It's like they're invested in it.
There's probably a deeper fear. So they probably have a deep-seated fear that if they ease up on it, then they'll gain weight, I'm assuming, right? And there's probably a big fear around gaining weight for them. However, if doing those things is impacting their thyroid function and slowing it down, then that's what's really going to have them gain weight. So it's kind of, I think sometimes just explaining that can be helpful, and then really slow and steady. So if someone's been under eating for a while, or they're under eating carbs for a while, we can't just have them jump into 200 grams of carbs overnight. They will gain weight with that. So if they're eating, 80 grams of carbs, it's like, cool, next week, let's focus on 100 grams. And then we're going to slowly build up from there. And you can do the same with calories too. So if someone's eating 1,500 calories, then, next week, let's aim for 1,600, and we'll do that for a week or two. And then we'll bump it up to 1,700. We'll do that for a week or two. And just like bringing that in more slowly can really help them and the body. Because if you jump from 1,500 to 3,000, you will gain weight with that. So just really slow and steady. And maybe it's like, instead of the 7 intense workouts a week, they're doing, I wouldn't take all of them away from that, all of those workouts away from them at first. I would say, cool, can we do 5? And can we bring in a long walk? You can go for an hour-long walk, that's fine with me, because it's not going to raise cortisol in the same way, and it's not going to like put your body under that much stress, and you can still feel like you got in that movement, and you kind of got those good, feeling hormones like that we get when we exercise and stuff like that. So kind of just focusing on swapping it, if they're open to swapping one of those boot camp classes for a yoga class, or even Pilates, where they'll still really get like a good workout and feel that burn and all of that. But it's way easier on the body, so decreasing, slowly swapping, and then really just explaining and trying to identify that deeper fear with them. They're holding on to something, they're trying to over control things, and they want to stay the same, even though it's not working, which is what the nervous system and brain likes to do. And we all feel that. I feel that in my own way, in my own life, that's human nature. Human nature is, and the nervous system is like, keep doing what you've always been doing, because that's safer, because that's what we know. And even if it's not actually getting us to where we want to go, it's harder to make that change. So when I'm first opening up my programs with clients, I always say to them, we're going to ask you to make changes, and you're going to feel resistance to these changes. Just prepare yourself for that now. We're probably going to ask you to eat a little more. We're probably going to ask you to stress a little less, do less, work out less. We're going to ask you to take new supplements and all of this kind of stuff. And your brain will go, is this worth it? Well, it wasn't that bad, right? Like, you'll start to make excuses, and that's going to play out in all different areas of your life, not just with like a health program. So I think just kind of knowing that and really reaffirming to yourself that like, I am stronger than these thoughts that are just like not really serving me, and these patterns that I know deep down aren't serving me, but I really want to keep them and they're hard to budge. Like, I have autonomy, and I can make a new decision, and that may feel a little harder at first, but eventually that is just going to become the new habit. So it's like a little discomfort for much better change on the other side. So I think just kind of knowing that you'll meet some of that resistance is helpful for some people, because you're like, oh, here it is. She told me this was going to happen.
That's great. Yeah, I tell them in advance that to expect it, and when it comes, then they're not thrown a loop by it. Very good. Sorry, I have two more questions. And the first one is about probiotics, because you can go to Walgreens and you can buy your run-of-the-mill probiotic and stuff like that. And I encourage people not to do that, because I really do think there's probiotics and there's probiotics. And there's also, like you said, you do the functional stool testing that gives you tips on what they're actually deficient on. So how do you decide if somebody needs a probiotic, and if so, what?
Yeah, I will say the functional stool testing can inform this a lot, which is very helpful, because there are so many different probiotics. And, the research and like the clinical data that we have around probiotics, it's a little variable, right? So
it's not complete. For sure.
So I honestly like people to focus on prebiotics a lot more, because that's what really feed our good gut microbes. So probiotics are just those live strains of bacteria, but they're transient in nature. So they'll like impact the host, aka you, as you're taking them, and then usually you'll just poop them out. But prebiotics are what really start to like feed those gut bacteria and build those healthy gut microbial colonies. So I like to really focus on prebiotic rich foods, fruits and veggies and different things like that, more so than probiotics. But I will say working with like a well-versed practitioner can be really helpful here, because, for example, if you have SIBO or you have fungal overgrowth or like candida, a probiotic that works great for your best friend may really like trigger you, and you may feel super bloated and gassy or nauseous because you have all this overgrowth present. So we honestly don't bring in probiotics very typically until the very end with clients, and that's like a couple months into work. So if you don't have a lot of digestive issues, you're like just good quality kind of broad spectrum one could be fine for you. But if you're dealing with a lot of chronic digestive issues, which you probably have if you have sluggish thyroid function, then some customization there can be really, really helpful.
Can be helpful, sure. Yeah. And prebiotics, in order for a food to have good prebiotic, does it have to be raw?
No.
This is a thing I get all the time too. It's like, oh, I don't want to eat raw vegetables, and I'm like, well,
no, that's a very interesting question. I'm like, oh my gosh. To my knowledge, no. There's a possibility that.
Well, I know you're cooking the soil bacteria when you're cooking a piece of broccoli or whatever.
Yeah. And then when it comes to things like prebiotic rich, other foods, or even resistant starch rich foods, those are great for feeding the gut microbiome too. Like that can be cooked and cooled potatoes. That can be oats, cooked oats. It could be overnight oats, so it doesn't necessarily have to be like a raw vegetable. But no, to my knowledge, like sauteed dandelion greens and sunchoke, I mean, those things are really rich in prebiotics, and we can cook them just fine and still get those good prebiotics.
Got it. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Last question. So for my travelers, so airports to me, and I haven't been to every airport in the U.S., but airports really feel like healthy food deserts. And small towns on highways, also same thing. So if you're traveling, what advice do you give to somebody who has to travel often?
Yeah. Go prepared. Always bring something with you. So I actually have a whole podcast episode on tips for healthy travel. For anyone that's interested, I would talk about everything that I do, supplements that I bring, snacks that I pack, and all of that. So that's a good resource. I just got back from traveling, so let me think about what I did. I went with a couple supplements. I always bring things like magnesium and a few others, electrolytes, and then with food, I just pack snacks. So I'll bring things like chomps, which are these like grass-fed beef sticks. I'll bring, oh gosh, on the way there, I was really just, you're trying to like, it's like a mad dash to get all the stuff out of your fridge so it doesn't go bad.
Right, yeah. So it's like, oh, that's my husband said that yesterday. He's like, oh, we got to eat the fridge. We got to eat the fridge. I'm like,
or you're like trying to put whatever you can in the freezer. So I went with like 2 bell peppers sliced up, and I literally had a half an avocado just like in a bag, and I just dipped the bell peppers into that. I like to have something crunchy because I love a cracker, like a chip. So I had some gluten-free crackers with me. I'll get those like individual serving size nut butter packets. So like almond butter or cashew butter, something like that. Cause you'll get some fat, which is quite satiating, and a little bit of protein. I'm loving Aloha bars right now. I have zero affiliation with this company whatsoever, but they have a good like protein bar that has 14 grams of protein and I think it's like 8 grams of fiber or something, which is that's pretty great.
Nice.
So, and they taste great. So I'll buy those.
Good.
At like Whole Foods or on Amazon or whatever. I'll buy a box of them, and I just brought like 10 of them with me on my trip because it feels so awful to be stuck somewhere and you're starving and there's like literally nothing and you're like, oh no.
It's like I can't eat another pack of almonds.
Right. So
although I love almonds.
No, totally. So I try to bring something like a beef stick or like something like that where it feels more like food than a protein bar, because I get kind of I hit my max with protein bars very quick. Like I can't eat like 2. I eat very one quick. And I'm like, I want food. So then I have the avocado and the bell pepper, and that feels more like food to me. Hard-boiled eggs are great. You know, those are great to travel with. Let me think of anything else. Sometimes I'll pack a salad, but I have to be really on top of it if I'm pre-packing a salad before I travel.
Yeah, and they don't actually last all that long before they get wilted.
An apple, like I'll cut up apple slices, or like a sumo orange. I love sumo oranges when they're in season because you can peel them and they're not a mess. Like you can peel the whole thing and no juice goes anywhere, and they're so delicious. So things like that, or like kiwis, you know, any cut up fruit, any cut up veggies, like carrots and bell peppers and cucumbers are kind of my go-to. And then things to just toss in the purse are like beef sticks and nut butter packets, and yeah.
Yeah, nice. Very nice. All right. Well, that brings up, since you have an episode that we need to listen to, tell us what your podcast is.
So it's new to this year. We're very excited. It's called the Nutrient Dense Podcast. And I really cover all things like root cause approach to gut health. So whether it's nutrition or lab testing or SIBO or histamine overload or any of that. And I'll bring my team on and we'll do some Q&As as well. So for anyone that's interested in learning more about digestion, and if you're struggling with chronic digestive issues, it's been very well received, and it's been so fun for me to do.
No, that's fantastic. We're going to be binging that for sure.
Yes. Yeah. And we had you on for an episode, so we're excited about that.
That was wonderful.
Yeah. So come on over.
Okay. So if people who are listening need to find you, how do they find
so
you?
You can listen to the Nutrient Dense Podcast. You can come on over and say hi on Instagram. So I'm on Instagram at Hannah Aylward HHC, but we'll make sure to get you that because my last name is a little bit of a doozy. And then my website's just hannahaylward.com. So yeah, don't hesitate to reach out, send me a message. And I'm quite active on Instagram. I do like weekly Q&As for the audience, and I post content all the time. Always new tips. So would love to connect with you there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, this has been great. I am so happy that you were able to come on, and my people are going to want to come and learn more from you. But anyway, I think we're about out of time. So thank you, everybody, for listening to Beyond the Thyroid. And don't forget, I have my new Thyroid Clarity Checkup coming on. And so if you are not sure that your symptoms are related to thyroid and you want a quick and easy way to find out, come to my website and sign up for the wait list, and we'll be launching that very, very soon. It's going to be great. All right. Until next week, I'll talk to you then. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of Beyond the Thyroid. If you found this information valuable, it would mean so much to me if you'll take a few seconds and give the podcast a 5-star review. It helps other people who need this information find the show, and it's really easy. Just search and click on the name of the show, Beyond the Thyroid, and scroll to the bottom to ratings and reviews. I truly do read and appreciate every one. Remember, when it comes to hormones, there will always be more to discover. So follow the show so you get the next episode as soon as it's released. And if you or someone you care about needs a caring doctor to help figure out how to heal hormone problems that other doctors have dismissed, check out my website at www.danagibbsmd.com. And if you're not a physician, please keep in mind, while I'm a doctor, I'm not your doctor. The content of this podcast is my opinion, and it's for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is not meant to be individual medical advice, and you should consult your own physician for any medical issues or diagnoses that you may have. I look forward to continuing this journey with you beyond the thyroid.